A person incarcerated gets his neck broken by the corrections officers, and then they let him starve to death inside of the facility. Let's go to the video.
Sergeant Nettles was attempting to counsel with him about his attitude getting up to go to work for food service this morning, at which time he struck Sergeant Nettles on the left-hand side of the face. I assisted Sergeant Nettles in placing an inmate on the ground right here. At this time, the inmate's refusing to walk to go to medical for his post-use of force physical and pre-confinement. Got a wheelchair on the way. Dr. Scott, you may need your assistance, sir.
3:33 a.m.
Yep. He's in his wheelchair and he's saying his feet is working.
Lean forward a little bit.
Lean forward a little bit.
Here's that.
Forget this. Where's it going?
I cannot move.
You don't need to move right there. The walker's going to take it. Alright? If you move, his blood pressure won't fine. Paralyzed.
That's where I am talking, okay? You should lean forward. So I can get your hands.
That's too far. I can't even. That's too far forward, man. Can you push me back a little bit more?
He did not refuse to walk. Couldn't. His neck was broken. They didn't believe his neck was broken, according to them. I don't think they cared because they later decided to starve him to death. Put up his picture. A Florida inmate starved to death following having his neck broken by correctional police. His name was Craig Ridley. He laid on the floor of his cell pleading for help as officers dropped trays of food he could not reach. They knew he could not reach the food. They put it in front of him. No one goes out of his reach. Blatantly disregarding the untouched food trays and the fact that Ridley would fall to the floor when he was placed on the toilet. Medical staff only called for his transport to a hospital 5 days after he was paralyzed. Efforts to stabilize him after he was starved and had his neck broken failed. He died because of his injuries. Now, this took place October 12th, 2017. The reason we now have more information is because of a federal lawsuit that was filed. What led up to this situation? The morning of September 8th, 2017, correctional officers got into a struggle with Mr. Ridley, tackling him to the ground face first. According to the video footage, he was brought a wheelchair after telling the officers he could not walk. He was taken to solitary confinement, not a medical facility, nor to medical itself. He was taken to confinement and officers propped him up on the cell's toilet. He fell over, breaking his nose at that point. He was already in extreme pain. Mr. Ridley's cause of death was determined to be a homicide caused by blunt impact to the head and neck, but no criminal charges were ever filed against the officers or medical staff who treated Mr. Ridley. The Herald surfaced the shocking details of Mr. Ridley's family's years-long fight to uncover the circumstances around their loved one's death. The report also comes a year after Mr. Ridley's daughter filed a civil lawsuit, which created more interest in this case against Florida's Department of Corrections and correction officers and the medical staff involved. Let me talk about deaths in Florida prisons. According to the Miami Herald, 450 incarcerated individuals die in Florida every year. As expected, prison guards and correctional officers often walk free from the traumas they impose on inmates, leaving them injured or dead. Ridley's daughter, Jatun Moss, hopes to change that with a federal lawsuit against the corrections officers, medical staff, and secretary of the Department of Corrections. And we stand with you, we stand with the family for justice to be served. There's a protocol that they violated. There's also a standard of care that they violated. And naturally, there are decent laws that are on the books to take care of people when you have authority over them, like being a police officer or a corrections staff. You have an obligation statutorily to do the right thing in situations like that. All right, Ben, thoughts here?
Yeah, it's just really, really heartbreaking. It goes back to the root of our prison system, which is built around the idea that, like, it's literally built around the assumption that once you're incarcerated, you don't matter as a human being. And like, that's where it is. And so fundamentally, look, I'm sorry, but like, if you wanna be a good, morally decent person, solidarity with people who are incarcerated is a necessity. Empathizing with them, viewing them fundamentally as human beings. Like, I don't care if somebody has murdered like 100 people. Once they're incarcerated, once they are under the custody of the state, we should make sure that they are not only living like, surviving, but living comfortable lives where we are creating the material conditions around them that they can hopefully become a better person. That is the entry level, bare minimum standard for human decency for people who are incarcerated, if we have a carceral system of justice at all. And like, fundamentally, not only are we failing to do that in our society, but the reality is our prison systems are effectively torture factories where people, these corrections officers, are allowed to get away with a litany of crimes. I mean, like constantly, like you can basically assume that if somebody is incarcerated, that they are going to be the victim of arbitrary violence from corrections officers. If somebody is a corrections officer, the unfortunate reality is you can assume that if they're not actively participating in the sexual assault, the physical assault, the mistreatment of incarcerated people, that they are at very least witnessing other people doing it and not saying anything.
Agreed. All right.